This is part 19, and today we'll be back into programming. There's still another section missing for part 19. Oh, I realized that there we go. Uh, anyway, yeah, so welcome to part 19. We have some coding to do today. We'll start off by fixing some bugs and the glitches that we have. I'll slightly showcase what we've been up to so far. So the level system is going well. I've been adding a lot of levels, balancing, etc. Um, I've added a temporary variable that counts how much money we can get in waves, so I can more or less. So I have my little, where are we? Balancing cheat sheet of how much money we get by the end of several waves. So I don't have to run from wave one and so on with having the exact amount of money. But yeah, let's give this a try. I'll put some waves in and just so you can see how it exactly works. And then I'll talk about some bugs that I've encountered, fix some that we have, and then we'll move on from there. So let's start off with, where are we? With first wave, and our default money is going to be 200. So towers have been now balanced. They're way cheaper. I have not managed to balance this one out, and this one doesn't work yet. And I've been only balancing on this one specific level. There's several strategies in which you can use to do the first level. It's quite easy to do, to be honest. And first thing that I don't like about, where are we? That I don't like about this is that the delete doesn't show how much money we earn per tower, and when we hover over an upgrade, we don't know how much we will actually get from this upgrade. So there's no way to judge. Also, we don't actually know what these towers give us in the first place. So those will be all mechanics that we need to work on. Ooh, will this be good? It should be. Yep, works fine. Another, I would say, bigger issue is that if we go to the main menu scene and we load in a level, start level 4, which is this level here. Well, firstly, camera moves up, so it's too high. So we'll do that. Camera is too high when the game starts. So that'll need some fixing. But now we have two sets of save load managers, which is wrong. So let's just go into save load manager, fix this one out first. The reason why it happens is because we just didn't put any code to prevent this from happening. Because what our awake should have really looked like instead of this, we really should do if instance is null. So if we don't already have an instance, then only then this is going to be our instance. However, if our instance is not null, then that means that we already have an instance, and that means we have to destroy this game object. And only then we can make sure that we don't destroy on load. Yep, like so. So that was a very simple fix. Oh, something that I did do is I removed the time.delta time here, simply because I do use these two in other places and the rotation looks okay, but when I put it here, the axe spin doesn't seem as natural as I would want it to be, so I just removed that to make the axe spin look a little bit better. But yeah, so there you go. I'm just quickly going to pop up what there is to do. So I'm not going to worry about any video setting and saving for now. This we actually just did now. I would probably want to focus on these guys first. So let's go back to our game scene. And what we will have to do is in the dock, we will have to work on the docking script quite a bit. So if we go into our docking script, when we display stats, we display the current amount of money. But that should only happen if if our level is not higher than the current level, that available level. So what we kind of want to do is do this. So if I guess R is smaller than what would be the so the way we would count. Whoa. No, if current tower tier is smaller than dot length, and then else we will just set this to is equal to max. So that will essentially tell the user that it's as far as we want it to be. We don't need to go any further than that. Wait, we actually do this somewhere else, don't we? Because we apply the locking instead. So actually, all we have to do, bless you, is just put them here and completely remove this section here. So now this should work as a well, more a direct way of telling us what's happening. So let's give this a try. Let's give ourselves a little bit more money and try upgrading a tower. So let's go into scriptable objects so we know how many times this tower can be upgraded. So our stationary tower has an upgrade for 80 and an upgrade for 500, and then it's max. Yep, that's correct. So that means that this entire system now works. Because first we start in this bound, we use 80, we move on to this bound, and then the last bound doesn't matter the cost because we never upgrade to the next tier. Now, delete has to, of course, have a similar thing. Also, the health of the enemy doesn't update, so that's something I want to add as well. Enemy health does not update when selected. It would be nice if it was. The reason why I didn't add it is because it's extra processing, but I feel like it is nice to when you just have that one enemy left that you can constantly look at its health. So let's do the stat changes because that's something that will give an extra. Well, it will do something we actually haven't done before. So if we look at this bottom, we can actually add a new. Let me just close out Steam. We can add a component here, which is on with event trigger. There we go. So what an event trigger does is it has these cool things that we can do. So what we will use is on pointer enter as well as on pointer exit. So on pointer exit is when we will move with our mouse on that and when we leave. So when we leave, of course, we will want to deselect whatever we are doing, but on enter, we're going to enable whatever we want to do. So for that, we'll need two new functions. So we'll have public void point, let's call it on button highlight, like so, and then the reverse of that, on button leave. So since we have a reference from display tower, but we only have that. Yeah, so the moment we click on the tower, this gets run, and that then enables the power panels, and that gives us a reference to our tower. That will allow us to then use this information to our advantage. So so where do we set the stats? So this is where we set our stats. And this is exactly what will happen if we leave, because we will need to reset them to their default stats, like so. So now we can get rid of these three. Where are we? And instead change it to on of like so. So just so we don't repeat the same line over and over. But here, what we want to do is instead of calling these, we want to change it so it shows us what the damage is going to be like, not here, but what the damage is we're going to get from the upgrades instead. Now that I think about it, there's going to be a slight issue between this and when we're buffed. So what we will actually have to do is check for buffed damage, and then there is no point checking for buff damage. Or is there? Because buffs disappear, although the range ones would not, because they would be constantly there. Checks for buffs, yeah. So we'll check for buffs, get our numbers, and that would be great. So first thing we'll do is we'll create our own set of variables for damage and range. So what we'll do is float temp damage, temp range, like so. And we will set our temp damage is equal to tower.damage, and temp range is going to be equal to tower.range, like so. So set the default values, and then what we're going to do next is we will subtract those numbers from our upgrade number. So remove damage from the scriptable values. Now, what this does is counts the difference when the tower is buffed by a buffing tower. So what will happen here is we will get our current level of the tower. So we're just going to go into tower stats. How do we grab the tower? Where are we? There we go. So we're just going to grab all of that here. So our temp damage is going to be minus equals dot damage. Of course, this is no longer, this is just a tower now. Current tier dot damage, like so. And we will do the exact same thing for our temporary range. Instead of, we'll just do a range. So that will give us a leftover of whatever we have upgraded. And then all we have to do is just check what they will be as opposed to when they're upgraded. So we have our range here for the text, but we'll also add just a little icon like this, plus, and here we'll put in tower.range. No, we'll get tower stats, but we'll do tower.range plus 1. So this is what we want to do for the other ones as well. But let's first test how it's going to work. So let's put all of the code in. So we have the upgrade button selected. We'll get our information panel and drag it into both of these. And here we'll have our on button highlight and then off button highlight, like so. So now let's place that tower down. That actually changes in range. I believe this tower changes in range a lot. And there we go. Now we see that if we do this, we're going to get an upgrade in range. The biggest problem with this is the font size, which is something we can regulate a little bit more so it doesn't swap like this. But it works. That's the important part, is that this system does work, although it's going to give us an error soon. And we will see in a minute. There we go. And the problem is when we reach the maximum range. So what we actually have to do is just a quick if. Where are we? We actually have it here. Just have to just copy this line here. Change that to tower. Actually, let's move this here and just to type in return like so. That way we will not do any of the other calculations. There we go. So if our range is max, we will not proceed. Enters the error will never happen. Let's pick a different tower that doesn't have so many upgrades. I think fire tower only has 2. So 1, 2. And there we go. We don't get an error anymore. Now, let's do the other ones, because the other ones will be slightly differently. And actually, what I do want to do is change the text font. So instead of 40, let's keep it at 20. It's going to be less resizing happening this way. So actually, I was meant to do this for rate of fire, because rate of fire is the only one that we will not be buffing in this game. Okay, let's change that. Right, this rate, because I do want to have a tower damage tower that increases damage and a tower that increases range already exists within the project. But essentially, what we have to do now is, now that we have our temp damages calculated, we have to do this with our temp damages included. So what I'll do here is I'll do temp range plus equals this, and we'll do the exact same thing for our temp damage. Whoa. So remove, yeah, so what this does is count between the DAF. So this gets the difference. So it gets the difference between actual and buffed value. And what this does is gets the difference between the current and the upgraded value whilst still including the buff change, like so. And this showcases the change of the statistics. Okay, so how do we change this? Well, we simply just put temp range instead of all of that. We no longer need to do all of that. And we'll do, of course, the exact same thing for the damage. And that's going to be temp damage. So let's give this a try. So we'll place a tower which has rate of fire damage. We hover over and that shows us the... No, that's wrong. 100% wrong. Why is there a space between these? Okay, was that the problem? No. Okay, let's just do some debug.log. Debug.log temp range. -3. Why would there be a -3? Oh my god. That's fine. There you go. So 0 because we don't have a buff, which is actually correct. So our increase would be only to 18. Now let's try putting a buffing tower next to it. And then now click on here. And we'll see that our value is indeed different. Let's check the range of that one. Let's put this one here. So 1.1. And it's still 1.1. So the maths is correct up until... How much do we buff with this tower, by the way? Because I don't see it buffing at all. Where the buff? Feel like this might be the problem with the buffing tower, if anything. Let's check out both axe towers. So we have a slight issue with the buff. But I believe it did work for some time. So let's quickly place both towers. Check. So this is 1.1. Place that one. Actually, because the range shows that, yeah. Which is actually correct to an extent, or is it not? I'm actually a bit confused because the tower range applies to what the buff would be like straight away. You know what? I think, yeah, it's actually all right. Let's just double check. Yeah, it is because it was +1. So now we have a new thing to add. The buffing tower doesn't work. So range buff tower does not work, which is fine. We'll work on it soon. Okay, so let's comment this. So applies, no, shows the changed statistics of the tower when upgraded. Resets statistics to default. Resets the display of statistics to default when a mouse leaves the upgrade button. And it shows the change statistics of the tower when hovered over with a mouse on upgrade button. There you go. And with this done, I kind of want to change how big they are because they keep resizing. Oh yeah, I can actually make them smaller by removing one of these. Try. Come on, like you guys have enough space to not resize so much. Yeah, I think we have found the sweet spot. Although, why is that one showing 0? Rate of fire. Oh, we removed the current tower stats. Whoopsie. Tower, the rate of fire. Let's try on a tower that has bigger stats. This doesn't have a rate of fire, no. Wait. Still too big. This is still too big. How would 15 look like? Maybe 16 will be the sweet spot? No. Yeah, 15 is the sweet spot. Too bad. Unless... No. It would have to have the panel longer. Let's leave it as 16 then. Actually, one thing I also want to do here is... There you go. Change that to 5. Better. So with this, range buff tower does not work as intended. Only works temporarily at the start. Okay, so we have that. Let's now do the delete. So to do the delete button, we need to add a new piece of text at the very bottom, which will give us a return price. So return, and then a sign in dollars. And then let's move this to the bottom. Make it bigger, make it bold. Center, like so. Yeah, good enough. Return price, like so. And now that we have this, we can go here and add a new field, which is going to be our return price. So this will be in I guess we'll just add it to here. So private text, and that's going to be our delete price. Now for delete, private void calculate delete price. And what will happen here is delete price.text is equal to so calculate delete price will have to be called in two places. When we first open our tower, like this, and it will also have to be called in here. Actually, no, because we called a display tower again, so that's good enough. We'll just call it here every time we open. And there's actually a piece of code in here, I believe, which calculates the costs of deleting. So delete already has a way to calculate it. So doc information delete tower. There we go. So what we really need is just this. Where are we? And this entire thing has to be put into a function of its own that has a return. So what we'll do here is we'll do private minis and int. So private int calculate the delete costs like so, and we'll just do this, and we return the following. So what will happen here is we'll type in, where are we? Return and plus calculate delete costs like so. And if we go higher, wait, return money plus, no, that's fine. where was it? So instead of doing that, we'll do, there you go, shorten this down. It's called calculate delete costs. Calculate delete costs, like so. And with this, we now reuse this function here. So what this does is it calculates the cost of selling the tower and returns of selling the tower. That's it. And this displays the amount of money that will be returned when the tower gets sold, like so. So let's see if this works. It's not going to work because I didn't attach that panel, did I? Of course I didn't. Stock information. Where is the selling? Here. And let's give this a play. Now, if I'm going to place this tower down, we now see that the return is 65. Do we get 65 back? Yes, we do. Actually, one thing that doesn't happen is when we delete the tower, it doesn't deselect the circle I just saw. So let's go here and add this in. And the selection circle is not turned off when tower is deleted. What do we have here? So let's have a look at the camera first. While we're at it, camera thing should be very easy to fix because I believe it's the start. Yeah, it is the start. So the problem is with our X. I believe if I remove, no, it's not the X, it's the Y. So if we remove the ×2, let's see where the camera will place us here. Okay. 4. Yeah, but then different map will have different scalings. So really, the position of the camera on start should be well. You know what? Let's keep it as 4. It doesn't matter too much messing, especially since we have two separate ones for map and thing. So let's leave this one out. I'm not going to remove it from bugs. So enemy health does not update. Let's have a look at that, see how that works. So again, it's part of the docking system. So if we start the wave, we just place a random wave down, we click on him, he gets hit, but nothing happens on hit. So what we can do is, there's many ways that we can tackle it, and I think I've got an idea on how to do it. Actually, no. I was thinking of using an event and subscribing to the event, and that will automatically do that, but then that also means that oh, actually, we could only subscribe the object to the no, because I don't want to add update. This is the problem here. I don't want to have an update function in here. I need to think about this a little bit more because I don't know if what I have in my head would be efficient or it would be just a waste of time. Okay, so let's add tooltips. Yeah, I think that would be the easiest, quickest thing to add right now. So we have a little space here that I will use for the tooltip panel. So what I'll do is I'll go into panels and I will move this like so. Maybe even move the entire speed compartment so it's together with together with the wave management, because that does manage the waves. It's all in one corner. And then we have more space for our little text box. Yeah, let's use that one. It looks the least worst out of them all. So what this will be is a tooltip panel, and the tooltip panel will have a text which spans across the entire thing, is in bold, best fit, although maximum 20. Maybe slightly centered. There we go. So tooltip tips will be displayed here. Text tooltip. So the tooltip system will be a new class that will essentially say what everything does that we hover under that can be hovered on. So let's add a new class. Where are we? Let's call it tooltips. We'll actually use tooltips throughout every scene. So what we'll have here is we'll have private game object, and that's good. And that's going to be the tooltip panel. And we'll have a private game object, no, private text, tooltip text. And essentially all this really needs is two things. It needs a public void display tooltip, and it needs a public void hide tooltip. So hide tooltip will set our tooltip text to null, and it will tooltip panel to false, whereas the reverse will happen in here, as we will set it to true, and we will display our tooltip in here. So this hides the tooltip from the user, displays the tooltip for the user, and displays useful information about things user hovers over on. Stores the tooltip panel, and here we'll have stores the text that displays tooltips like so, and we can get rid of these two, and that's an entire class. Now, how are we going to handle tooltips? Well, I'm thinking I will make a brand new class for each tooltip, and it's going to be called a tooltip. So this is tooltips tooltip, like so. And the only thing that the tooltip will do is when we hover over it, it will just send the information over. So in the display tooltips, we'll take in a string of tip, and tip is what's going to be displayed right here. So here we will have, of course, a message that we want to show to the user. So let's just do private string to tip the message, and that's going to be equal to nothing by default, and we're going to make it a serializable field like so. Now, what would be the most efficient way to pass through this message to here? Or actually, we don't even need to do this entire tooltip, I think. So let's first click on a tower and add a on, what was it, event trigger, and add again on pointer enter, on pointer exit, and in our canvas, let's add our tool tips like so. Let's drag in what we need, the panel and the text over, like so. With this done, let's click on our icon again. Click here, and let's grab in our canvas into both of these. What's the first one? The on enter. So we want to show the tooltip. Where are we? Display tooltip. Yeah, we can actually do this without the actual hide tooltip. And here we just write down what we want to show. So our tooltip can just go away. And so let's do that for every tower that we have thus far. Of course, this part we'll have to do manually. It's not the quickest system to set up, but it does work very well once it does work. And of course, we get the full control of what we want it to have and what we don't want it to have. Now, let's add it here as well. Now, what do we write? So, what is our Axe Tower? I believe they all have their own descriptions, which appear here. So, let's just call it a slow firing, slow attacking tower with moderate damage. And yes, that would be good enough. And that's now we could technically connect the system to use our descriptions from the tower. The problem with that we would eventually face is, wait, what? That not everything will have the tower attached to them, and we want to use this throughout everything. Okay, like so. So what's this one? A fast firing, low damage tower. Can I select? They have to be done manually. This is one thing I don't like about the triggers. Each trigger has to be done manually. You can't do multiple ones at once, like how you can do with anything else in a Unity. Where are we? Let's drag them over. I feel like I'll only do one more, and then the rest will be done off screen because there's no need to just show me clicking for every single one of these. So what does this one do? Fires projectiles in all directions. There we go. So let's give this a test real quick. One thing we didn't do is we didn't disable this on start. So let's add start and we'll do call. So initializes the boxes. And we do that by calling hide tooltip because we want it to be disabled by default. With this, the entire tooltip system can be scratched off the list. So I wanted to add a spec tower. Well, spec tower, a tower that shoots and the bullet keeps flying straight for a certain length of time. So it's going to be a combination of our basic tower with the combination of our the tower that doesn't rotate and then just fires spikes. Although the biggest difference is that they will keep going; they will never stop firing, so they will fly through. That means that we need a tower. Well, we need a brand new tower that is the same as the default tower, with some changes to the bullet. So if we go into our towers, we go into the basic. Well, actually, let's pick a gun tower, put it in. Let's unpack the prefab. We're gonna call it the punch through tower. Now we'll keep the animation same. We'll just to make it easier from ourselves, but we'll add a little bit of extra. Where are we? Let's open the prefab editor. I'm actually gonna duplicate the gun and add like this little backwards section here. Remove these guys. Rename this to the extend. Actually, instead of doing that, we can simply just drag this out like this, and let's check out the animation now. Yeah, so it goes all the way back. Maybe actually need to, you know what, leave it. It's great. Like so. Let's change the color of this into something else. So let's go into materials and create a brand new color. And this is going to be called the punch through. What will we make our little punch through? Where's punch through? There is. Let's make this maybe blue. Yeah, I don't think we have a blue tower yet. I'll also change this here. So we have two different. There we go, like so. Whereas actually the muzzle can be completely white as a reverse. Whereas not the inner cannon. There we go, like so. There we go. And that's a brand new tower done real quick. How much time do we have left? Yeah, we still have 10 minutes. So what's the biggest change that we need to... We should have not closed the prefab editor. So the biggest change to this tower is the bullet that we will be pulling through. So what we're pulling through is this, but this will be changed to a brand new bullet. So let's duplicate this bullet. This one has a trail. We will actually add a trail for the other one as well, I think. So let's change it to punch through bullet. Now let's edit the bullet itself and change the shape from a sphere to a cube. Can you not zoom in on it? You know what? Why is the... Okay, I feel like I'm just going to make a brand new bullet. Change of plans. This is just too annoying. Okay, so let's create a cube. There we go. Now, so the forward angle is the blue one, which is here. Now let's compare the sizing to an actual ball. So let's move both of these to 0, 0, 0. And slightly outline them. So how big does an actual bullet look? Okay, so this is way too big. We know that for sure now. Okay, so that's why... There you go. So now they're similar. Actually, let's make this even smaller. Yeah, maybe even smaller actually. So it looks more like spikes more than anything. Better. Now, so the forward angle was there, and we said we want it to be some kind of a spike. Oh, I have a better idea. So we'll have that, and then we will create a object inside of this, which is going to be, I guess, a cube now. And we'll make like a, so this is, it's basically going to be inspired by a ballista. If anyone, oh, of course that will give me problems. Let's turn it around, make it smaller. Like so. Maybe even smaller. Like so. And not as wide. And now duplicate it and do -30 instead. And move it out. Actually, let's do a 0. Move it along, then do -30. Let's give these a different color so I can tell these apart, because right now I'm struggling a little bit. So this will be a black color, and this is going to be a brown color, like so. Now I just need to move it so it looks nice. I kind of don't want it to be. You know what? Maybe a little bit lower so they match. Yeah, it's good enough for me. So we want to, of course, remove the box colliders from these ones and attach them to here. Now I'm just going to call them edges, and this is going to be the punch through bullet. Oh wow, as soon as I added the edges in, it did that to me, really? Okay, change of plans then. Let's create an empty game object and drag all of these into it. No, where's the drag the empty game object into this one, set the position to 0, 0, move this project object out, drag the remaining ones in. So this is going to be the spike width. This is going to be the log stick, and these are the spikes. There we go. With this, I don't need the collision on either of them. I'll just have my own punch through bullet. I'll have my own collision on this one anyway. So firstly, let's add a box collider, which is way too big. So let's resize it to its appropriate size. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger than what it should be by default. Like so. Yeah, of course, that has to go down. There you go. And we have ourselves a little punch for bullet. Now let's see, and trigger has to be enabled. What else do we need? Let's copy the component. So copy component, paste component is new. Let's try out the trail. Okay, so the trail has to be slightly, well, for starters, it has to be longer than this. And let's change the color of this to be brown. And it's going to go into more like an orangey type of color. And of course, that can go away. Oh, it has to have a, okay, sure. Actually, no, we can just use the dirt. There we go. It's good enough. So now with this bullet, what else do we need? So we have the default bullet, but we're not going to use the default bullet. We will use a brand new version of our bullet. So let's go into our scripts and go into bullets. So towers, bullets, and we will create a punch through bullet. Punch through. Actually, rather than having a punch through bullet, all we need is a spike bullet. Actually, I think our spike bullet does the job. Let's have a look at the bullet and the spike bullet and see what they do. So our spike bullet just keeps traveling forward, which is exactly what we want. And it actually only gets disabled by its disappearing time, I believe. Let's have a look at the tower just to double check that I'm correct. It's going to bullets and it's going into spike bullet. Yeah, so it actually just has a disappear time because it's a spike bullet. So we will actually add a spike bullet script here. So we are again reusing our code. And the disappear time will set to something like 3. So with this done, let's drag in our bullet here and see if it's gonna work. So let's go into towers, open up our new spike tower. Instead of the basic bullet pool, we will change this to our spike prefabs, like so. And let's create a brand new scriptable object for our tower. So this is going to be the punch through tower. Now, I believe that would be, what was 6? So range tower is the last tower. That means that this is going to be of ID punch through tower, like so. So the description is bullet flies through enemies. And let's just give it some of basic values for now. Actually, let's just keep the default level by out 50 for now. Just going to use a temporary icon, which means it's going to be a cloud, and the tower to place will be, where are we? The punch through tower. And that being said, the punch through tower now needs different scriptable. It's just going to be the punch through. And I believe this is it. So it uses the basic tower script, which aims as it should. Now, let's go into here. Actually, let's go into this one and duplicate that. Change this to fires projectile that passes through enemies. And it's going to be punch through. Punch through. Now, actually, tooltips could also display stats of the tower, but I think it's going to be more fun if the user gets to experience that himself. So I won't be adding it. If I were to add the tooltips all I would have to do is just reference this game object attached to here and grab the data, but we're not going to do this at all. There's just no need for that. Oh, so we have that, we have that. We now need another thing, which is the highlight. So let's do all of that. Remove this, remove this, remove this, remove this, add, actually unpack, highlight, materials, the good and the bad. Wait, where are the highlights? Do I actually need to attach these? Yes, I do. So it's that range display. What's the other one? Oh, it's the actual base. Where are we? Punch through. Let's add this here to the tower placers, to the placer objects, and let's change the material to what we actually want it to be here. So let's open anything that needs, we don't need this actually. Let's open this as a prefab editor. So we don't need this, we don't need this, and we don't need this either. But everything else can change the color apart from this. There we go. Perfect. Now all I have to do is actually drag in the base, the rotator, and the gun, and the inner tower. Just apply that. Now in Game Manager, I believe we now have to add this tower here, like so. Done. And let's give this a try. A new tower. Whoa, why is it going up? Do I have an extra piece of script attached somewhere? Wait, tower layer default. Let's try this again. Why is it changing position? That is so strange. What are you missing that the other guys have? Oh, well, there's a random box collider on the gun. That's interesting. That means that we have a box collider on the actual object where it shouldn't be. But why would you fly? There you go. It was that literally that box collider. So we've placed the tower, and let's start the wave. Boom. Oh yeah, right. So there's some issues, mainly with how it shoots, but it does go through as we wanted it to. So firstly, let's make some changes to this tower. I will actually reduce the base. Wait. Component. We'll actually have to move this to the actual tower now. Where are we? Base. Base component values. Also, this means that there is this here that needs to be removed. Oh, that's done now. And now the entire rotator has to be moved lower. So let's move it to here, and then copy component, go back into the placer, which is that one, and then we will click on the base, not the base. Oh, apply, click on that one, base component values, apply, like so. Now with this done, the position is going to be slightly better. I just realized that we will actually have to have some changes to the code, to the base tower, and that's because we don't want the camera to look lower. Or maybe we do. Let's test it out first. Let's go into bullets though and modify the prefab. So first thing we want to do, well, the only thing we want to do is modify the box collider to make it taller. That's it. Why is it called punch for bullet 1? There's no 1 there. Is there? Where? There is no normal punch through. Okay, whatever. Let's forget about it. Now let's give this a try, and that will be it. That will be the last try of today. So press play, see what it does. So it fires. I think the bullet still disappears though, rather than actually constantly flying. Go and shoot. Yeah. So yeah, because the spike tower actually does disable the bullet on collision. So never mind. We don't want to inherit from the spike at all, because the spike does this bit of code. It runs. So let's quickly go into scripts. Where are we? So, and make this happen real quick. So instead of here, we'll do punch, well, punch through bullet. But I believe we can just inherit straight from the spike bullet and just modify. So if we look at the spike class, we have all of that here, which we actually do want. So let's do spike bullet like this. And what we will change here is we will only change this function right here, which is the handle collision script. So we'll do override here and a capital damage. And we remove disable bullet entirely like this. So the bullet only gets disabled after it travels through. And that should be it. There's no need for anything extra for the bullet to do. So let's now change this for the punch through bullet. Remove this, and again drag in on the trail, change the disappear time, and let's give this a go. Okay, our punch through tower, and see how it's gonna work. Yeah, there we go. So now our bullet goes through absolutely everything, and it flies through the map. Now, the way we can fix that is by the positioning. I do kind of like how it's going into the ground. So what we're going to do is change the disappear time, and we will adjust the prefab one more time. So the base is even lower. Where are we? Base. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Copy component. Where are we? Base component values. Now let's move the rotator. Oh. There we go. A very small tower is going to look funny. Copy component. Base component values. Select override apply. Override apply. Let's remove it from here and place the tower. See the result. There we go. We get really good shots from close. still a lot of issues on that front. So I guess we'll have to do what I wanted to do originally, which is modifying their position, modifying how it flies. So right now the bullet, if we go into the spy bullet, it does travel forward. But the problem is if we go into our tower, where are we? Actually, okay, I'm going to add this to to-do list because I ran out of time. I'll be finishing this up. So what we'll do is make punch through tower only rotate on left and right, not up and down. So that'll be for next part.